Today we're going to talk about dividing decimals. I can divide positive and negative decimals. Don't forget to put this into your table of contents, please. Okay, so when we do division problems, it's the dividend divided by the divisor. Or another way to write it is like a fraction, dividend divided by divisor. So let's recap again. Hopefully we don't need to look this up in our notes, but you do have them if you do need to. A positive divided by a positive, your answer is still going to be positive because there are no negatives. A negative divided by a positive has one negative. One is an odd number of negatives, so it's going to be negative. Positive divided by a negative, again, one negative, so that's an odd number of negatives, so it'll stay negative. And then you've got a negative divided by a negative, that's two negatives. They kind of cancel each other out and become a positive because it is an even number of negatives. All right, so I've already written these notes here, so let's talk about them. It says, in order to divide, the divisor needs to be a whole number. If it is not a whole number, then you will need to move the decimal point to the right until it becomes a whole number. Move the dividend the same number of places. So what that means is if we have to change our divisor, our denominator here, we have to also change our dividend, our numerator. And we've talked about this before. Whatever you do to the denominator, you must do to the numerator. So whatever you do to the divisor, you must do to the dividend. So let's do the first part, the step one right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite it so that it looks like this. So 5.50 divided by 0.5. Now we are going to have to change this one because it's not a whole number and it has to be a whole number. 0.5 is not a whole number. So what we're going to do is we're going to move to the right, however many places we need to go. So for this one, I only need to move one place and put the decimal here behind the 5. Now it's 5. But if I'm going to do that, I have to move it here the same amount of places. So now the decimal's right there. So it's going to be 55.0. I moved the decimal. Okay. Now let's look at step 2. Divide as you normally do. So let's go ahead. Your dividend is what goes inside the house. Your divisor goes outside the house. So how you read this? 55.0 divided by 5. So normally in math and in English we read left to right, but it's so strange. For math for division, using long division rules, we read kind of right, then middle, then left. So we're kind of going backwards on this one, aren't we? 55.0 divided by 5. Dividend divided by divisor. Dividend divided by divisor. So let's go ahead and divide. 5 goes into 5 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract them and I get 0. Now I bring down the 5. So let's do it again. 5 goes into 5 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract and bring down. 5 goes into 0 times. Okay, so that's what we have. Nothing's left. We're good. All right, no remainders, nothing. We don't have to keep going. We're at 0. All right, so now we've divided. Let's look at what they tell us to do now for step 3. Place a decimal point directly above the decimal point in the dividend. So what they're saying is, if our problem looks like this, 55.0 divided by 5, and we got 1, 1, 0, it means that we are going to bring our decimal directly up to right there. So our answer is 11.0. So 11.0 is the answer for that one. And do we need that 0.0? Not really. It could just be 11, and that's fine. So let's do an example and see how we do. So first thing we're going to do is look at our divisor. Unfortunately, our divisor is not a whole number. We need to move it over one place, our decimal, which means I need to move the decimal over one place here too. Now, if you have a number, so 592, remember there are all these zeros after it like this, okay? That's what 592 looks like. There's a decimal, an invisible decimal in all these zeros. So I need to move it over to the right one place. So moving it over one place, and now I have 5,920. So let's go ahead and rewrite it. 5,920 divided by 8. That's what we have now because we moved it over to make a whole number for our divisor. Now I do see it's a positive divided by a negative. A positive divided by a negative means it's going to be negative. So let's go ahead and put that negative down there right now. Now let's divide. 8 goes into 5. How many times? Can 8 go into 5? No. Can 8 go into 59? Yep, sure can. 8 can go into 59 7 times because 7 times 8 is 56. Now we're going to subtract it and see what's left over. 9 minus 6 is 3. 5 minus 5 is 0. The next step for long division is to bring down the 2. 8 goes into 32 4 times because 4 times 8 is 32. Now we subtract. We have 0 left. We bring down the 0. 8 goes into 0. 0 times, and then it's done. We don't have anything left. Now we've done almost everything. Now what we have to do is bring up the decimal. Well, what happens if we don't have a decimal in a problem? Remember, we can add a decimal. So really the decimal in this problem is right here, which means we bring it up. So we don't even need the decimal here. It was 740 with or without the decimal. So our answer is negative 740. Okay, so let's look at our practice and see if there are going to be any surprises on here that we might need to talk about. Let's see. Here it looks like you got to move it a couple more times than just one. Is this a whole number? I think it is, so I don't think we even need to move this one. I think it's okay because the decimal is already behind the number. If you look at this one, is the decimal already behind the number? Yeah, I think it is, so we don't need to do anything there. But it does look like these two, you have to move the decimal to the right a couple times, and don't forget to do the same thing to your dividend. And then you're gonna divide, and then move your decimal straight up. All right, good luck with it.